What?
Scattered areas of severe weather in parts of the east to this evening, but there are a lot of areas that aren't seeing very much at all. We've got also some excessive heat in the southwest, but everything else is kind of where it usually is around the 4th of July. And we have also some severe weather issues to look at for tomorrow, Nature's Own fireworks. And we will cover all of that and more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Load the truck with topsoil, sand, mulch, and anything else you need to make your home or garden look just exquisite. 6317561125 for the best prices in town. The website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. They have all sorts of other weather gadgets and gizmos. They really work well, by the way. In terms of the summertime, you get to see where the lightning strikes are, in terms of how close they are to you and how many there have been. Among other things, it keeps a ongoing history, so you don't have to write it down. The referral link is at the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this video. Use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show, and what do you get if you do, Mrs. Rayo?
You get 10% off.
Very good. She watches the show. You get the feeling she watches the show, and she pays attention.
And sometimes she comes down to the studio here to.
Yes.
What are you here for tonight?
Oh, I'm here to make a big announcement.
Hi.
All right, ready for this, folks?
Okay.
Listen carefully. Joe Rayo officially has an asteroid named after him.
Oh, how cool is that?
Asteroid number 20009.
No. 20009. Right. Okay.
Just for laughs. Hold on a second. I'm gonna check something.
I haven't even posted anything. Oh, what happened here? I haven't even posted anything on Facebook about this yet.
Oh, you're the same zip code as Washington, D.C. Now, you know what? It's too bad that you could not get 60609. Because then you could have named the catalog and listed it in the Spiegel catalog and the Spiegel Catalog Company, Chicago, Illinois.
We only found out about this a few hours ago, and like I said, I haven't even had a chance to post anything about it on Facebook or whatever. And well, it's quite an honor. In
perpetuity.
And yeah,
forever.
As long as it doesn't become an asteroid that winds up, smashing into the Earth.
No. What I said.
Well,
that's a reputation you don't want.
Well, there are a lot of people who have asteroids named after them. Tommy Lasorda, the baseball manager, has one named after him, and other people as well. So I don't know. What you have to do is you have to approach the International Astronomical Union, write up a citation, suggest that this person gets a name for an asteroid, and anyway, apparently they said yes, and I found out about it today. So,
well, that's awesome.
Yes,
that is awesome.
To notice that you didn't do it; somebody else.
No, I did not do it. I had nothing to do, but I did. A good friend of mine who I've known for 50 years, and unfortunately now is not able to do the things that he loved because of a medical condition. Earlier this year, I was able to write a citation and get an asteroid named for him. So it's not an easy thing to do, but I'll find out who was responsible for this. And but it's pretty amazing. It comes on the 3rd anniversary of my son and daughter-in-law. They got married on this day in 2020. And 2 days from now, my daughter is going to turn and it's going to be her birthday. So this is a rather interesting time. A lot of nice things are all happening during the first few days of July.
Good. That's awesome. Awesome.
Dennis, you can. if you want to tell the guys at Cellophane, go right ahead.
Awesome. So, did you get any boom booms today?
Did we get any boom booms?
Oh, yeah.
We got boom booms.
You did.
That kind of, yeah. They're about what? About 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock?
Right. But we missed the heaviest of the thunderstorm. It went just to our south where there was hail in Peekskill, Mohegan Lake, Yorktown area. It was quite nasty down that way.
Yeah, I had one the last 2 days, Saturday evening and yesterday evening. Saturday evenings was quite a storm. I got wind and rain, but just north of me, on the north side of town, they had damage all over the place. A lot of trees down. Sunday night, sometime last night, we had a thunderstorm, and it was so loud that the thunder it must have been like right over my house. So, and I've had this happen before, and my house will shake if there's a thunderstorm over it. And I have I would say it's probably about 4.5 foot by maybe 3.5 foot mirror in my bedroom, and it came crashing down off the wall. Thankfully, no, it actually came straight down and landed on the dresser. So it never really never really fell over because there's stuff on the dresser that kept it from falling forward. So fortunately, it did not break. Otherwise, I'd have 7 more years bad luck. Yeah, it was quite a show. And I'm just looking at my radar now. There's some big thunderstorms over Atlanta. I just got some showers that are going to pass by me in the next hour or so. I don't see any thunderstorms near me, so that's good. Hopefully, it won't affect the electricity.
I should point out, Joe, yesterday on our Joe and Joe Sunday show, I had mentioned that most of Sunday would be rain-free, and that really, if we had any chance in the tri-state area of getting anything, it would probably not come until, let's say, 10, 11 o'clock or midnight, and that's exactly what happened last night. We did have storms that held off most of the day, and toward the witching hour of midnight, we did have some pretty good rumbles of thunder and some bursts of rain. And today, they held off until, again, around mid-afternoon, mid to late. In fact, there were some places that had pretty good hail with some of these storms. So two in a row for us.
Anthony Orr, who hit Super Chat tonight, thank you, Anthony. He said 2.5. He messaged me a couple hours ago because he's in eastern Pennsylvania, and about 2.5 miles from where he lives, there was a confirmed tornado that actually did some damage. And apparently must have come and gone really quick because they didn't even have time to put a tornado warning up.
They come and go sometimes. I mean, we've seen over the years, speed, 50, 60 knots, something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just zoom. And sometimes the forward speed is what gives these, makes these storms so potent.
All right. Well, are we ready to check the radars up and down the eastern seaboard?
Yes. I just have to bring the radar up. This is from
while you're doing, go ahead. I'm sorry. Give them credit.
Now this is from our friends over at NCAR's RAL real-time weather data. As any of you ever want to look it up yourself on your computer, just go to Google and type in RAP satellite, RAP satellite, and you have access on that link to both some very good satellite imagery and also a radar nationwide, as you will soon see. Let's start with, let me just first, we'll go for 3 hours on the loop duration here, and go to there. And
Michael Azara corrects me. He says not true. There were 3 tornado warnings issued in southeast PA and even northern Delaware. Okay, I stand corrected. Sorry about that.
And take a look at this, Joe. We've got this one.
Hang on. Unshare and share again.
Unshare and share again. Share and share alike.
Yeah. See if that works.
We'll try this and that and this, and there you go. How does that work?
Oh, it came and it went. It's just really bizarre that this is happening. Let's
all right, stop share again.
What's that? Try it one more time.
Okay, I stopped sharing, and now I will share the screen again for the third time. Boom. Yes, I'm screen sharing.
Yep. There you go. Hold on. I got you. Go ahead.
Voila.
It's all yours.
So you can see that this is the cell that, again, passed off to our south and moved across portions of southwestern Connecticut. That is another area, not as potent apparently, but still enough so that it is moving in from our west and may get me again. This is again from the Upton radar out in eastern Long Island. A lot more activity up the Hudson Valley, up in the mid and upper Hudson Valley area. In fact, let me change and go to Albany and see what's going on there. It's interesting that that cell that passed on by me really showed up quite well on the Albany radar. There's nothing really, you can see how intense the red was, and that again crossed over into southwestern Connecticut. Now we have another blob. This one is more less intense and a bit larger in size. So that's coming our way in moving across right now. Northern sections of Orange County will move across the Hudson River and move into portions of Putnam County and also southern Dutchess County within probably the next hour or so. Let's check further south now. Let's go down to South Jersey to the Dover Air Force Base, actually. And you can see this is actually in Delaware. And you can see crossing through Amish country, southeastern sections of Pennsylvania, some rather potent storms. Look like these are getting even stronger with the passage of time, and also across portions of northern and northeastern sections of Maryland. So again, I mean, it's nothing organized in the sense that we have a massive squall line or numerous clusters of storms, but whatever storms are out there, they are producing, for however brief a time, very heavy rain, might even be producing a bit of hail and some brief gusty winds as well. Anywhere else?
Yeah, take a look at it. Let's go to Atlanta and then Birmingham.
All right, so we'll go to Atlanta, Georgia, Peachtree City. That sounds like a lovely place to go. You can see that. Now, this is about where you are, right, Joe, up here?
So where Atlanta is, I'm northeast of Atlanta. So go close to where the Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia state line meet. And I'm about 20 miles to the southeast of that.
Okay.
So I'm probably in one of those little green blotches that might be showing up.
All right, but the active area, the more prolific or stormier situation is down toward. It looks like it's heading right for Atlanta right now in the last few frames.
Yeah, it looks right. It looks like it's almost right over the city.
Yeah, it looks like they're really getting hit. So that's Atlanta, and you want to go also to Birmingham?
Yeah, check out Birmingham. Yeah, the whole radar look tonight is really a compilation of clusters and line segments. Clusters and line segments. So that certainly describes the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. This area is more, a little more pronounced, sort of this east-west line of storms. And there's that looks like a broken line that's south of Birmingham there. That's not moving south or southeast. It's just kind of, that whole area is just sliding east. So there's a little bit of training going on over there.
It does look, though, more potent. I mean, certainly you could see a lot more in the way of oranges and reds. And once again, because of the high level of humidity and because of the fact that we do have a disturbance down here, I was watching this earlier today, some of this activity could spawn, a tornado or a funnel cloud, or at the very least, some damaging winds. So something to be advised at if you're anywhere near these clusters that are popping in the late afternoon and early evening heat. And that's what is this now? Alabaster, Birmingham, Alabama / Alabaster.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a paint that I would get at Martin Paint.
Yes.
I'd like that, one gallon of alabaster, please. Anyway.
Right. Now let's go to northwest Wisconsin, where we have what looks like a nice bowing line of storms over there.
Let me go to Duluth. There you go. That gives you an excellent. Oh boy, woo, woo. That's a pretty nasty looking line, if I do say so myself. It looks like it's weakening, however slightly, but it is rather potent still as it moves on I guess you could say, an east-southeast trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just see if I get a slightly different, because that was Duluth. Let me go to Green Bay. The Green Bay, it's so much further to the east that the line will eventually get in there. Yeah, see, it's the very beginning is getting in, but it's a little bit too far.
There's nothing in between them?
This one here, ARX. That's La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, there you see it.
Yeah, there it goes.
Nice looking storms. I mean, they really are impressive there.
Yeah.
The kinds that, maybe they don't produce huge winds, but I would bet that probably gets very, very dark and the street lights are on.
It's well, let's see. Well, I was going to say if it were just the right time. Right now in that part of the country, the time is 6:50, not 6:51, not 7:51. If it were 5 o'clock, and Joe, what you just mentioned, now it gets very, very dark. Then I could say it's a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm going to bring up now on my side. I will bring up the satellite loop with the lightning strikes because it is rather busy, and you could see in the northeast. The most active are the storms over Delaware and Maryland, and in southeastern Virginia, eastern North Carolina, seeing a lot of lightning strikes there. A few lightning strikes to the north of New York City. It looks like there's a cell just north of you moving east right now. I don't know if it's weakening or if it's just holding its own. And there's another one that moved. The earlier cell that you might have had looks like that went into southwest Connecticut, and those flashes are just about gone. A lot of lightning strikes from Atlanta west to Birmingham, and then further west to around Little Rock in Arkansas, and back over to Oklahoma, also into northern Louisiana, although those storms seem to have faded a bit in terms of the lightning strikes in the last hour or so. And we've got some scattered thunderstorms going on up and down the state of Florida. There is room in between where there isn't too much happening. And you can also see the storms that are moving through northwestern Wisconsin that Joe showed you on the radar. And here's the wide radar view so you can see what's going on in the west, too. We've got a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings in central Wyoming, in and around Salt Lake City. We have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are at work there, and a few clusters of heavier storms in the Dakotas. Nothing, I say, out on the West Coast. The Storm Prediction Center, and we'll take a look at the latest overview. We still have severe thunderstorm watches up from southwestern Virginia and a very small portion of northeastern North Carolina northward through New Jersey to the Hudson Valley and the Catskills, and maybe just about back to south central New York, right more around Binghamton than anything else, not up near Syracuse. And then the western edge of that goes down through central PA and into West Virginia and Western Virginia. So those watches are going to be in effect for a little while longer. And we also have a couple of severe thunderstorm watches up in South Dakota and Wyoming. Then that's inside an area of enhanced risk, of slight to enhanced risk of severe weather. Actually, SPC went to an enhanced risk for Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware earlier this afternoon. It was slight on their forecast this morning. They also moved the slight risk up to north into the Hudson Valley and the Catskills. And then added the enhanced risk with a 2% tornado risk. I just want to, again, correct what I said before. So Anthony Orr's tornado was in northeastern Pennsylvania, and he said that they didn't see a warning on that. And then Michael Lazara said in southeast Pennsylvania there were several tornado warnings that warnings were issued for. Okay, I'm not saying that to cast dispersions on the Weather Service. I mean, sometimes those things come and go so quickly that by the time you do what you have to do to send out the warning, the storm's weakened. Or maybe it's popped up in another spot. So sometimes when if you watch a loop of a radar that shows you the boxes, you'll see the red box. Even sometimes a severe thunderstorm warning box will appear, and then 5 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes later, or even less, it disappears. So that's just the way it is. That's why it's always a good idea to convey risk. And everybody should understand what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it unless it's a really obvious widespread event, and then that would be noted. But as always, if you're watching this at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time, so if you're having severe weather where you are and you want to check the latest radars and latest watches and warnings that are up, please go to weather.gov or go to spc.noaa.gov. That's the Storm Prediction Center. Rainfall-wise, with all of this going on, Joe, everybody from the Rockies east, with the exception of Texas, so Rocky from there eastward through the Ohio Valley and into the north, up and down the northeast, everybody's got at least a half to 3/4 of an inch. And then there's some areas in New England, the HV, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, showing 2 inches plus over the next week. There's going to be a lot of variability in this because it's all going to depend on where the thunderstorms show up on any given day. They could be in one spot one day and in another spot on another. Maybe there'll be a day where they're in both spots at the same time. Also, in the middle Mississippi Valley back into the Central Plains, we're looking at a large area of 1.5 inches to as much as 3 inches there. And 1.5 inches plus at eastern North Carolina along the Louisiana coast. And as we always like to point out, nothing going on in the west. The surface map, I mean, it was fairly juicy in terms of the dew points. I mean, they all got up into the low 70s. I would have thought maybe that the thunderstorms would have been a little more widespread than they were, given the setup. I mean, solidly warm sectored and everything else, but I guess there must have been a few things going on that perhaps made, and it's a good thing that we got maybe slightly less in the number of storms than what we wound up with. But we've got another juicy air mass probably setting up for tomorrow. And the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow has marginal risk. They've actually expanded this. They moved it up into southern New England and maybe to the middle Hudson Valley to the Catskills, most of the eastern half of Pennsylvania, then going all the way down to the southeast and then across the Gulf states back into Texas and Oklahoma. So a really large area of marginal risk. What do you think? You think they might add a slight risk tomorrow?
Oh, the way they had been going at this in recent months, Joe, and we've been saying this, that with each day, the SPC seems to accentuate or add on to what they had posted the previous day. So, yeah, I would not be surprised if tomorrow we found a slight risk. I mean, 2 days ago, who would have thought that they would have had enhanced on today's SPC outlook? So
yeah, that came around 1 o'clock this afternoon, I think.
Yeah. So tomorrow it may be. Now the question is, of course, tomorrow it's 4th of July, so we're going to have a lot of different celebrations, fireworks celebrations and displays. The big one, of course, in New York is the Macy's fireworks display. And I said this yesterday, that I cannot remember of a Macy's fireworks display occurring when there have been, significant thunderstorm activity in the area. I'm just wondering. I'm just looking at the 3-kilometer NAM for tomorrow.
Well, let's show it to everybody. I'll bring you back up and you can share again.
Well, let's see if this will work.
It's there. You didn't disappear this time.
So here it is. Now I'm using the 12Z run of the 3-kilometer NAM, and this is for 0Z. This is for 8 o'clock. I believe they start at 9 or 9:30 with the fireworks. Now you can see, if this holds true, really this doesn't look all that bad. I'm vacillating back and forth between 9 and 10 o'clock, and as you can see, yes, there are thunderstorms, or at least if not thunderstorms, there are spotty showers in and around the region. but whether or not there's going to be one that's unfortunate to be over, I believe, the East River when the display is scheduled to begin, that's another question altogether. We may have a better handle on this tomorrow, but right now, for the fireworks tomorrow night, I'd say, yeah, there's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance that there could be a shower storm, but there's a much greater chance that you just might miss out, that it might be dry and we will not have to worry about it. But of course, I'm saying this relying solely on the 3 kilometer NAM. Now, let's go to the HRRR and let's go to, I don't want to see we'll go to the 18Z run and see, come on, there you go. So what do we have here for tomorrow based upon the HRRR? The HRRR is really not showing all that much either. 22Z, 23Z, 24Z, which is, or 0Z Wednesday, that's 8 o'clock tomorrow, 9 o'clock tomorrow, 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So again, like the 3 kilometer NAM, there may very well be something out there, but in most places, not much going on. So hopefully we'll be able to get through tomorrow evening fireworks displays with no significant thunderstorm or shower activity taking place.
All right, well, that takes care of the short range, so I will take care of the long range. And I'm just looking at the long range GFS upper air. It's kind of interesting to see this, but given the signature here, I mean, this is really kind of unusual for July. I can't remember the last time we've had this, like the upper air as, how shall we say, vibrant as it is here. But as you look, now this is this week, so we've got this shortwave trough that's moving through today, and then there's another little blip that comes through tomorrow, but then we get sort of in a tiny little ridge position for Wednesday into Thursday. But take a look at what's going on up in northernmost Canada. There's an upper low way up in northern Canada that's going to drop down into Hudson Bay and just kind of sit, just spin around there all through the next 10 days and beyond. I mean, it's still there through days 11, 12, and 13, and 14, and 15, and pulls up, and then another arm comes around. It's kind of unusual to have the Canadian part of the Canadian jet stream be as strong as it is and as far south as it is. And obviously, we've seen what happens when that occurs, as we've been getting into that smoke stuff. So luckily, that has not been an issue the last few days. It doesn't look to be an issue tomorrow, I don't think, or Wednesday. But there's this tendency to keep want to drop troughs into the eastern part of the United States, and I really don't see much changing. It's kind of blocky across the Arctic regions, and the heat ridge now is moving into New Mexico and slowly shifting its way westward. Every once in a while it kind of gives a little nudge east, so like it does next weekend. But then it starts to really shift to the west. It's centered in Arizona by the time we get deep into the long range after day 10, and it's on the flattish side too. So again, I mean, if you're looking, it doesn't look like we're going to have to worry about multi-consecutive 90-degree days anytime soon. We might have a day here or a day there where it gets up close to 90, but I don't think you can get much beyond that. And we're probably still going to be getting weather fronts coming through from time to time, and some of them will probably be a bit more vibrant than others in terms of producing some thunderstorms. But we're kind of in this mode here, Joe. And I'll just say what I said last night. If we still have this tendency for troughs to want to be in the eastern part of the United States come August and September, that's going to be something that could be potentially worrisome once the tropics get going.
Right. Not now, of course, but when we get into the middle or latter part of August, and especially so into September, that would be the kind of upper air pattern that would be favorable to draw some of that tropical activity near the Atlantic seaboard. Okay, we saw that briefly last year in September. We didn't quite see it happen here in the eastern United States, but if you recall, there was a major storm, I forget the name, that did a pretty good number on Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Fiona, that's right. Fiona. That's right.
Retired, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Fiona was a nasty lady when she made landfall in Nova Scotia. I remember we even did a phoner with one of the people at the radio stations, I think in Halifax.
Yes.
Everything was that was not a very nice system to deal with, but we didn't have to deal with it, so that's good. But if the pattern is a little bit different, and if the trough is a little further maybe to the west to allow the storm track to be closer to the Atlantic coast, yeah, you're right. Could be very interesting later on in the summertime season.
So I'm just running through the surface here real quick, and one thing that I noticed is that there's this tendency for highs to come down out of Canada with weather fronts running ahead of it. We've got another one coming. We have this week's system going by tomorrow, and the GFS does pepper us with showers and thunderstorms in the northeast into tomorrow evening, but then they disappear. So I would assume that they'll be gone by 8 or 9 o'clock. Also active across the south, which means I'll get some rain and thunder too. And then another front that approaches for Friday with some showers and thunderstorms Friday evening. And that front looks like it might get hung up a little bit because we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms firing up again along the coastal plain for Saturday and possibly even for Sunday. Because another system, there's a low that's coming out of the shoots some energy out of the southern plains. And another front that's pushing down from the Great Lakes, and it looks like we can get some showers and thunderstorms on Monday. Doesn't mean that it rains continuously. You know, I kind of been describing it, Joe, as in situations like this, that when you have showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for a given day, you could probably expect that 70 to 80% of the day is going to be rain-free, and it's the other 20%. And if it's one of those days where it's a hit or miss thing, then there's a fair chance that wherever you are, you might get away with not seeing anything. And I think that's how you have to kind of look at it. I guess if you're planning stuff, you could say, okay, I'll plan something outdoors, but I better have a backup plan. I think that's the best way to approach it.
Yeah, it's tough in the summertime when you get these requests from people. Say I've got an outdoor graduation party, or I got a pool party or something, and I've got to know what's going to happen at a specific time, and you really can't do that because
especially because you're never one of the ones that are being invited.
That's true.
Seriously.
I'd love to say that. Invite me, and I'll
you'll guarantee it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
I was just looking on the North America view because I'm trying to see what's going on. It looks like they're getting a little more weather up in Alberta province with some rain. Rain at least right now, and then that goes out. And I mean, there's some systems with that upper low spinning in Hudson Bay. It probably will bring some chances for rain up there. If it's just going to sit there and rotate around, that might be good news for not only for that area, but also for Quebec, getting rain in the areas where some of the wildfires are going on. So let's hope that will be some upside here to the situation regarding the smoke.
I like Frank R. on the chat board saying, I'm having an outdoor party Saturday, and there's a 47% chance, not a 40%.
Not a 50%.
But
not even a 45%, 47%.
Yes. Don't you love how the accuracy of these outlooks, 5 and 6 days out, they're able to go right down to the percentage point as to how your chances are, what your chances are. Amazing.
And so many people just use them. I mean,
yes.
I especially here, because everybody's very weather conscious here. You'd be shocked to know how many people have weather stations and rain gauges here.
No,
especially because of the farming. There's a lot of farms here, so it makes sense. But even non-farmers have weather stations and rain gauges, and they're very in tuned to the weather.
In fact, they're probably more in tune than the average person who just simply turns on the TV or listens to the radio. Some of them actually are so weather conscious they can look at the sky, look at the clouds, and make a projection, mentally, like, okay, later today we're definitely going to have something. That's how the farmers were. That's how they had to be during World War II.
Correct.
How many of you know that during World War II, all weather forecasts on radio and in newspapers were all more or less wiped out because they felt that was information that could be used by the enemy.
Correct. You're right.
You know,
Yeah, and the Great Atlantic Hurricane, as it is known, occurred during that blackout period.
right.
I wonder how they specifically handled that.
That's a good point. That's a good question. I mean,
did they eventually issue some kind of warning?
Well, it wasn't a complete blackout. Like, for example, in the New York Times, if you look at the weather box on the front page during that time frame, it might simply say something like sunny 70, and that would be your forecast for the entire.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was ridiculous. Henry Morgan, not Harry Morgan, who played Colonel Potter on MASH, but Henry Morgan, who was a very famous TV and radio humorist. During that time frame, he had a radio show, and he said, and he was doing a bit, funny little sketch. He said, "Okay, let's go to the weather forecast right now," and you heard a crash, and Henry would say, "Oh, well, I see the barometer just fell," and the next day, Joe. This according to Henry Morgan. Now, the next day, somebody from the government, maybe it was the FBI or whatever, came to sit him down and talk about that. And Henry Morgan said, it was supposed to be a funny bit. It was not real. And the guy from the FBI said, "Yes, but what if it were true?"
God, the world we still live in.
Yes.
All right, let's do a little bit of Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely.
Okay, everybody all set to go here? We're going to do some weather stuff tonight. And it involves New York City Central Park records. And the first one is the highest temperature ever recorded in Central Park in July. This should be easy, Mr. Rayo, for you.
And for you, too. I mean, we've discussed this many, many times. July the 9th, 1936, Central Park, 106 degrees.
Yep, and Chuck Cardillo has got it. So we can go on to the next one. This was a pretty easy one. All right. Now, what was the
low? You know what happened the next day?
No, what happened the next day?
They opened the Triborough Bridge.
Oh, they did?
Franklin D. Roosevelt, in this very fancy limousine, was the first person to go over the vertical draw span of the Triborough en route to the suspension bridge part of the Triborough Bridge. But the bridge opened on July the 10th, 1936, during probably the hottest spell of weather, or one of the hottest that New York City has ever seen. So,
okay, the next question here is, what is the lowest temperature in July at Central Park? The lowest temperature.
I would, I'll say, well, I know we discussed this yesterday, that there was a couple of cases where it got down to something like 54 or 55 in July. In July. So I'll say 52.
And so does Frank R. And so does Chuck Cardillo. And so does Shrubby. And so does Michael Azera. And that's
Carol Teixeira, 7.
Yeah, that's a little much. They have 52. 52 on July 1st, 1953.
The good old days.
Yes. Now, the daily lowest maximum in July.
Oh.
And I guarantee you that if we looked at a map on that day, we'd have a northeast wind and a marine flow and, a cool high in eastern Canada to produce this. And rain all day long.
Well, we know that the low temperature for July is 52. So the lowest maximum temperature can't be any lower than that. But it could very well be just a degree or two higher than that. So I'm going to say something, I'll say 54.
You say 54. Well,
Yes.
I'm looking at the numbers here, and everybody is all over the place. However, Environmental Coffee House is the closest at 60. Okay. So, Michael Azara says 59, so he's one below 60, but that's not it. The Tyler Fienga is 62, is one too high. So guess what it makes it?
I guess it's a Roger Maris. It's 61.
61. That's correct. July 6th, 1956, it was 61. Maggie P just nailed it at the last second. Okay, here's our next question. I think it's the last one. Yes. So our final question tonight is, what year? I'll give the year, so it's a multiple choice question. What year recorded almost, but not quite, 12 inches of rain at Central Park in July? Was it 2000, 1977, 1925, 1889, or 1878? I will repeat the question. What year recorded almost 12 inches of rain at Central Park in July? Was it 2000, 1977, 1925, 1889, or 1878?
I'll say 2000.
And Dennis Cassia. Everybody's picking all the other numbers, some of them multiple times, but Dennis Cassia with a smiley emoji, and Christinapedia and Steve LaPointe all nailing it at 1889.
Well, that's not fair. I wasn't. You and I weren't around in 1889.
No.
A lot of our we when he answer these kind of questions based upon empiricism, we think back in our minds certain weather events. So, well, all right. So I guess since we didn't really remember, then it would have to have been in the 19th century, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Congrats, Dennis.
Yes. All right. It's 8:15. Shall we call it a night?
I guess so. It's been an exciting day, and it'll be another exciting day tomorrow, the fabulous 4th. And let me leave all of you with this little tidbit. If you want to be safe, if you want to stay safe on the 4th, make sure you don't order a 5th on the 3rd.
And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. You can buy it on the 5th, you can buy it on the 3rd, or you could buy it on the 4th. It doesn't matter. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is attached to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you make any purchase there of any of the weather items that they sell, use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show, because if you do, Joe Rayo, what do you get?
You'll get a free Asteroid. No, you'll get 10% off.
And Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, for your home landscaping needs or anything else you need hardware-wise. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town, and the website is
omnitruevalue.com. And I just want to say thank you again to Anthony Orr, who hit the tip jar tonight. Thank you, Anthony, and happy 3rd to all of you, and happy 4th tomorrow. We will have a show. Won't we, Joe, tomorrow night?
Yeah, we'll be here.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:35.
Bye.
Bye.